Are we rolling, Bob?
We're rolling. Hey, it's Mazzy here. Hello, vinyl community and other watchers on the YouTube visionary people. This is a Beatle-related sharing, and I have my co-author and longtime friend, David Bacon. He is in New Jersey. I'm in
Live in New
Seattle.
Jersey.
East Coast, pardon me?
Live in New Jersey.
Live in New Jersey.
Hotbed of the virus.
Yeah, Seattle. We started it all.
You started. You're a
And we're
trendsetter.
down to number 11 on the top 10 list. Down to number
Hey, we're
11.
number
We
two.
dropped 11 spots.
Everybody's healthy in my world.
Yeah, so David Bacon and I met in junior high school, but we became more friends in high school. And then through college, we both went to San Francisco State. I was a broadcasting communication major. David was a film major. And our connection, we both are, we're big Beatle fans, so self-proclaimed Beatleologists, and the inventor of Beatle tourism. And so watch the other videos and you'll know what we're talking about. It took two friggin' people from San Francisco to write the first travel guide of Beatles in the Beatles England.
There's nothing like seeing where history took place.
This is the places where they grew up, the places they wrote about, London, Liverpool, day tripping with Hamburg in the countryside. And the only reason, there's some other videos you can watch on my channel about this, and probably those of you who've watched me know about this. Since I did the last video last week, there was a contest entry, and I shared a couple behind the scenes stories. A couple people have inboxed me how they can get the book. And I mentioned it briefly there, but I didn't say it. First of all, if you want it cheap, you can go on eBay, third-party sellers, and get it for $3 to $4 to $5. Probably with shipping, it'll cost you $10.
I've seen it on Amazon for a dime.
Yeah, well, it's probably a rad-ass copy that has the coronavirus in the pages, and if that's what you want to do and fuck over the authors, you can do that. But if you want to get newly minted copies, or less than 100 left of the paperback, the rare hardback, I only have about a dozen or 10 of them. I'm not selling those, but we have about, I don't know, maybe 80, 90 to sell. Not even that. But if you want those, we are selling them for $20 shipped. Now, the list price was only $12.95, but that was almost 38 years ago. So,
and if you act now, we'll double the order for some additional handling charge.
Say that again?
Never mind. If you act now, we'll double the order. Just pay additional handling.
Sure. And if you want it signed, that's an extra $50. No kidding. But if you want it shipped, PayPal family sending thing, or one of the Vimeo, one of those, $20 shipped, and medium mail, and it'll be signed by one or both of us. I think I have a few signed by both of us. Otherwise, it's signed by me. Otherwise, I'll fake both names. Whichever. We'll make it up as we go along. But $20, email, do an inbox, but email Maslov at maslov.com, MASLOV, for your $20 until they sell out. But they're not going to sell out. But it's a fun guide of travel sites. So anyway, David and I wanted to do a joint video, and David came up with one of us, I don't know, whatever the concept was. So the concept's going to be, we each picked 5 solo Beatle records. I pick vinyl. David is a compact disc person. We don't look down on compact discs or anything else. I have a lot of, look at that, so I get it. And we did not tell each other what we're going to show. We're going to alternate, and we're going to discuss those records. Before we go on to this, anything you want to say about this or the Beatles England or anything?
Get your copy. Makes wonderful presents.
Yes. It's a little outdated because there's some things. Because again, if you didn't watch the other videos, we did this because Liverpool didn't give a shit because the Beatles pissed them off when they left Liverpool. So you go there. We both went separately in the late 70s, and you'd ask for some kind of tour guide. Where's this location? Where's that? And they would say,
there's nothing to see. I walked right into the tourist bureau. I'm a Beatle fan. I have money to spend. They said there's nothing to see. So,
yeah. The best thing you can get in Liverpool is go to the shelter in the middle of the roundabout and get your fish and finger pies.
Indeed.
Okay, I think David should start. talk about the album, why you chose it, and anything you want to say about it. And then,
Okay. In random order. Is that-
do me a favor. Take the cover out of the jewel because you get reflection. I'm sorry. I should have said that before.
Norman is better at this.
I'm the expert.
So, Time Takes Time by Ringo Starr. There we go. I think this is not only Ringo's best album. I rank it top 5 solo Beatle albums. I think it's an outstanding album, and it came at such a surprise. Ringo came out of the Beatles with a pretty hot streak. I think he had what, 10 top 10 singles.
He had more top singles than any of the other Beatles, which was ironic.
Including 2 number ones, 2 multi-platinum albums consecutive. And then Apple closed up and he signed with Atlantic, and it all fell apart. So Rodovik Gavur was, okay album. And then, Norman, you and I love
Bad Boy.
Bad Boy. Yo.
That was on Columbia. Epic, right? Portrait Records.
Portrait, maybe.
Yeah.
Anyway,
hate that fucking.
Ringo's career tanked to the point where it was kind of embarrassing. In the late 70s, he had an album that U.S. labels would not release, old wave. So, and he had alcohol problems, and he was kind of an embarrassment. But late 80s, he pulled his act together, stopped drinking, started doing the All-Star Band shows, Ringo's All-Star Bands, and then out of nowhere.
Early then he married a Playboy bunny, or no, Playboy centerfold.
Yes, he did. And then this album came out. What is that? 4 different producers who produced this.
Was it one of the Hudson brothers?
No, it was before Mark Hudson.
Mark
Don was, Jeff Lynne, Peter Asher, and Phil Ramone. So it's this eclectic thing of all sorts of producers, but it works. It is incredibly Beatle-y.
Very poppy.
But yeah, Ringo wrote a lot of the songs, and they were kind of self-reflective. Weight of the World, Don't Go Where the Road Don't Go.
What's great on that? The harmonies on a couple of songs is a Bay Area band, Jellyfish.
Yeah.
And they do the great harmonies.
One of my favorite Ringo album, and I think one of the best solo Beatle albums. Time Takes Time. There you go.
Wow. That was done what, 9 years after the record I'm going to show, because you just brought it up. Old Wave.
Yeah.
Very, very rare on vinyl. So this is worth some bucks. You think this is probably worth more than any other Ringo record on vinyl, because as David just said, this wasn't put out in America. It was put out in Canada, Germany, and other places. He wanted something when he put this record out. As David said, he had left the Beatles. Left Apple Records, put those shitty rat-ass records out, and he wanted something more refined and get his shit together somewhat. So he had Joe Walsh produce this record. Joe Walsh from the Eagles, from Joe Walsh Solo, and would later become his brother-in-law because they were both married. Ringo's wife, Barbara Bach's sister's married to Joe Walsh. And obviously, just recently, Joe Walsh works with the last few albums, has been working with Ringo again. Not a great record, and I didn't pick it I didn't necessarily pick it because these are the best creations. David and I are Beatle completists. We buy all the solo records, good, bad, or ugly.
It's not a horrible record, though.
What?
It's not a horrible.
No, it's not. It's a rock and roll record. Eric Clapton is on it. In fact, I don't think there are many credits. Okay. Chris Stanton is on it. Gary Brooker, great Brooker, I love, from Procol Harum, Whiter Shade of Pale vocalist. Joe Vitale. I think is George on it? No, George's not on it. There's a couple. There's one cover. She's About a Mover is a cover.
Mover is a good track.
Which is the Doug Psalms, Sir Douglas Quintet song. Great cover photograph. Came out on CD. And I think I bought the CD. I just found the vinyl eventually, but this is Canada, French Canadian, 1983, and he hadn't made. This was, I guess it was after that, he made 9 years later, he made the one you just showed.
Yeah, there was a huge gap because, again, it was embarrassing that you couldn't release an album in the United States, an ex-Beatle in the 70s. So who would have thought?
Nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted Ringo. A lot of Joe Walsh written songs and co-written with Richard Starkey. So Russ Ballard song. Anyway, produced by Joe Walsh. I'm throwing this in RCA. Okay.
Well, while we're at it, this a lot of people consider this one of the worst solo Beatle records. But actually, if I'm going to pull a solo Beatle off the shelf and listen to it, this is probably I listen to it more often than not, and it's Boo Coops of Blues. I don't think we planned to make this a Ringo show.
This is a Ringo show. What's my name? What's my name? Keep talking. Keep talking.
Okay. So Boo Coops of Blues is his, I'm not his practice. There we go. Boo Coops of Blues. Ringo's second solo album. George Harrison was doing All Things Must Pass, and as a session musician, he had I'm blanking. Peter Drake, I guess is the guy's name. Pedal steel guitar.
Nashville musician. All this Nashville.
Yeah, but he was George Harrison hired him for All Things Must Pass, and when Ringo was on the session. And during those sessions, Peter told Ringo, "Why don't you come to Nashville and make a country album?" Ringo said, "It's too much work." He said, No, I'll take care of it. You just come in, lay down your vocals." And so he found studio pros in Nashville. They wrote a bunch of songs. Ringo flies in. I think in 2 days they recorded the album. I think it's also one of his best albums.
And Ringo was always a country fan. Look at the Beatles.
I think he should do it. Boo Coops of Blues 2 would be a.
Well, see, I'm one of these people that I get down on Ringo as much as I love Ringo because we're not, you and I, good thing about David and I, from our point of view, we're not Beatle kiss asses. We bitch about, we still buy the records, but we bitch about the shitty McCartney songs and the shitty Ringo songs.
We buy more than one copy of the shitty ones.
Oh yeah, well that's a whole other issue. We buy more than one copy, but I've been bitching the last few. I bought the last few Ringo albums where I got to do a song about my childhood Liverpool, and I got to do this. And of course, I'm 80 years old. But David's right. He needs to do a country album. Get someone like T-Bone Burnett or Daniel Lanois and do a rootsy album and do country song. Rick Rubin, like what he did for Johnny Cash.
I admire that Ringo attempts to write songs. Great, but they're not very good. I mean, they're not horrible, but cover some stuff. There's great songs out there.
Yeah.
This album also has a couple of great B-sides that were on the CDs. Coochie Coochie is one of my
favorite. Isn't there a long version of Coochie Coochie? Is that the long version?
You're thinking of the Nashville Jam.
Oh, right.
Which is another outtake from this album that's on the CD. It's got the Jordanaires, Elvis's background singers, and all the studio pros. So
I agree with David. I'm a big fan of that album. And I'm going to show the only Beatle I met. David's met two Beatles. He met John and Paul. I don't know if we'll get into that this time, but this is 6 years ago. What's My Name? When his book, Genesis book, Photograph came out. Snarky. Okay.
Your turn.
My next one is I'm going with George Harrison. I'm going with the Quiet Beatle. And I'm going with a promo copy I have called self-titled, George Harrison. I did get the big vinyl box set, and I went through playing them to see how they sounded compared to other things.
I'm trying to point to the CD box set.
Up there on the top, yeah. I found when I was listening to all these, I listened to the whole box over several days, and I found, I never noticed it before, this is one of the best sounding of all the George Harrison records. Audiophile, I hate to throw that thing out, maybe not, but it just sounded amazing, beautiful. Now, since then, I haven't played the original copy. This is a promo copy that we had a friend in Warner Brothers, and he would send me stuff, especially Beatles related stuff. And when this came out, he worked for Warner Brothers, and I got it. And I love this record. I think it's one of George's best records. After a couple of years, what is it, 79, I think it came out. So on Dark Horse Records, his own label, which at this point was incorporated with Warner Brothers after he left A&M a few years earlier. Love Comes to Everyone is great. Not Guilty, the song that you've heard now if you bought the outtake, the White Album outtakes, that was for the White Album and was tossed away. Why was it tossed away?
To make room for Wild Honey Pie. I don't know.
In Revolution #9, which actually David and I both love.
That's the best track on the album. Oh, well, it is the key track on the album.
Yeah. And one of his first sequels, Here Comes the Moon. Beautiful song, right? Blow Away was a kind of a hit. Is that the stupid one with the big duck, giant duck video?
I believe so, yes.
What a terrible video. This is also when he was going through his Hawaiian I have a perm phase.
I was about to comment the bad thing about that album is the haircut.
The haircut. It was the haircut. Another great song on here, a really wonderful recorded song, Faster. Faster, about, George Harrison was always into Formula One race car, and he had friends in the race car. I forgot which is the main guy he was into. He'd go to the races in Long Beach and all around. Dark Sweet Lady, beautiful song written for Olivia, his wife. If You Believe. I mean, every song on here is good. This is a really good record.
The thing about George's solo,
there he is.
Yeah, there he is.
What's his name?
George's solo albums, I think he is the most consistent of the four Beatles in that really very few bad songs. I mean, with Paul and John might have higher peaks, but they also have lower lows. And George has been consistently good through all his albums, and that album is.
Don't you wish? I mean, we've had this conversation. Don't you wish he waited or re-recorded all the vocals on Dark Horse? Because the songs there are pretty good, and that whole, David and I both saw the tour. I think we saw 2 shows because I saw Oakland and the Cow Palace show when he played, and his. I mean, it was scary.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah, and I remember I brought a little tape recorder in one of them, and for years I had a cassette of one of the live. I'm sure it's been bootleg. I probably have bootlegs too. And it's just, his voice was horrible. But I love how he did a version on that tour of In My Life. Which
he got a lot of shit for, because he completely rearranged the song and he changed the lyrics to In My Life, I Love God More. But that was a great version. It was a great
tour. Yeah, it was like our first Beatle, right?
Definitely the first Beatle.
Yeah, first Beatle live. So it was a big, big deal, and it was just really too bad it sent us so shitty. With all these people now crying, oh, they got to put the live album of that. I kind of hope they don't. Sorry, I know you want it for completeness. We have bootlegs, but do you want an official of that?
Well, you could pick and choose. His voice got better as the tour got on. It got less hoarse. Do you remember listening? I think I was with you. The Dark Horse single came out, and the B-side was I Don't Care Anymore.
When he laughs?
No, that's Miss Odell.
Oh, right.
It's got the Jews harp, and
got it.
It was his voice, like, oh my God, what's wrong with this guy?
Exactly.
Got another B-side. Right.
Your draw.
My draw. Well, here's my George Harrison pick. This is the deluxe version of Brainwashed. What's George's best album? Probably All Things Must Pass, but this is a really good record. This came out after he died, and open the box. And the deluxe version's got all sorts of goodies in it. Here's the album. Am I doing this right?
Keep it steady. Center it steady. Yeah. Okay.
And it's got.
That's a weird ass cover.
It is. It's kind of stupid. No picture of them. And then it's got a DVD. Do you know what's on the DVD? I don't think I've watched this.
I watched it when it came out, and I don't remember.
And a sticker.
Yeah, Danny Harrison and Jeff Lynne finished it off.
It is sort of, if you collect George bootlegs, it's kind of a collection of his best of his bootlegs, because a lot of the songs are out for a number of years. Any Roads. There was that version he did on the VH1 acoustic version. The Between the Devil and the Deep Blue Sea had been out. It was a TV show, and there was everybody's in kind of silly costumes. That had been
That when he
out.
did the pirate song? No.
And, the what?
The pirate song?
No, later than that. There was some. Who's the guy who did Horse in the Water? Jules Holland. Anyway, Rocking Horse in Hawaii had been out. Jeff Lynne and Danny did a great job on this. Songs are all great. I only wish we could hear more.
Yeah.
Sure.
I remember there was an interview. I don't remember what it was when they were working on the record. Some comment that, which is perfect, that George said to Jeff Lynne about, don't ELO it too much or something like that. Like he didn't, all the confusion.
Don't make it too posh, but
Yeah,
I think they did a good job. I don't have any idea what George left. What the raw tapes sound like. I mean, the notes say George plays all the lead guitars and vocals. Danny is clearly doing harmony vocals on it, but great record. Great, yeah. And right up there with All Things Must Pass.
Okay. Well, I'm going with John Lennon's Walls and Bridges. And once I talk about this, I think David needs to share his meeting John Lennon little story, because it's around this time when John was promoting this. This is the album that John, after the Lost Weekend with May Pang in LA, where John got shit-faced with Harry Nilsson and Alice Cooper, the whole Hollywood vampires at the time, and had the Kotex on his head at the Troubadour. That's another story. If you don't know it, Google it, because I'm not going to waste my time here. John was working with Phil Spector on what became the rock and roll album, and it was tempestuous, drug laden. Phil Spector had his gun in the studio and all that crap. Typical Phil Spector stuff of the '70s, and it kind of put on hiatus. Apparently, Phil Spector stole the tapes. John and May Pang go back to New York, and he had worked on some songs and recorded this record. It's actually, ironically, the first time John had a #1 hit, a solo hit with Whatever Gets You Through the Night.
His only #1 hit, I think.
His only #1 hit, and he wrote it. Did he write it with Elton John, or just they sang it together? I forgot. No, co-author.
Sang it together, yeah.
Yeah, and at the studio while they recorded this, with a great little anecdote, Elton John makes a bet. This is going to go to #1. If it goes to #1, you got to come on stage with me. And obviously hit #1, and John Lennon showed up at Madison Square Gardens, where he re-met Yoko, and they got together again, and they sang I Saw Her Standing There, or to give Whatever Gets You Through the Night, and Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. The original artwork, these are illustrations he did as a child. And this was going to be the artwork, maybe not in this exact form, but for the the Oldies album, what became Rock and Roll, instead of the Jürgen Vollmer photograph. Cool songs, great songs. #9 Dream was also a hit. I love this record, and I love #9 Dream. Awa Kawa Posa Posa, which nobody knows. Even he doesn't know what that means. I can say fuck, it's my channel. It's fine. In a way, that kind of sounds like My Sweet Lord, right? The Hare Krishna part. Yeah, this is a UK pressing. It sounds really good. I love Old Dirt Road. I love Going Down on Love. That's obviously Scared is great, and it's got the song Steel and Glass, which is sort of his. Sounds very much like what's the song on Imagine against Paul McCartney.
Well, it's his version of Positively 4th Street.
Well, no, but it's the big Alan Klein.
Yeah.
But it's like what's the song? How Do You Sleep at Night? It's got the kind of the very similar, yeah. But I love Nobody Loves You When You're Down and Out. That's a beautiful song, and well, #9 Dream, but Old Dirt Road, what a great song. Anyway, I think this is one of John's best albums. I think it's after the first two, this is the third for me.
I also like Yoko put out album Men Love Avenue, which
Yep.
has a lot of the rough rehearsals from this album, with a lot of the studio shine taken off. Also very good. Excellent choice.
Yeah, big hit. Now tell them how you met John.
Oh, all right, yeah. So he was plugging this album, and um, he in San Francisco. There was KSAN, which was the big KSAN, the big FM underground, and
Downtown on Sutter Street.
yes, it is Tom Donahue.
211 Sutter Street.
The what?
211 Sutter Street.
Yes, it is, right. Tom Donahue, who was the general manager there. Beatle Connection was the promoter of the Candlestick Park show. Anyway, so John was going to be his guest on KSAN that night. And our friend, you weren't around. I don't know where you were.
I went with my girlfriend, Catherine, down to her parents. They had like a weekend beach house down south near Santa Cruz. And I went away and I knew about it. Total fucking mistake. Second only to my drum lesson when I didn't see the Beatles in Candlestick Park.
Well, Larry and I went down and hung out on Sutter Street in front of the station. And I don't know, after about 40 minutes, John and May Pang, who was his girlfriend at the time, assistant, and a couple other people came around the corner and sort of walk up to the station. There were about 5 of us there, and he was really very sweet to everybody. Somebody had a painting that they gave him. I could go get it, but it would take too long. I had a paperback copy of In His Own Right, and I handed it to him with a pen. I said, "John, would you sign this book?" And he said, "What book?" And I said, "Your book, you wrote it 10 years ago." And then he said, "Oh," he looked at the cover and he says, "I thought it was one of those ones that kept putting out about us." I think we were going to make a tagline for our book. So he was very, generous with, and then, everybody got their autograph, and then he said he needed to go. We tried to talk him into letting us come into the studio.
That didn't work
with him, and that didn't go anywhere. So
it's interesting because Larry's a mutual friend of ours, and he passed away about 7 years ago. And he got his autograph. He left me his autograph in his will, so I have the John Lennon autograph that Larry got. I have it framed in my record room. Why did he just have a scrap of paper? You think Larry would have brought an album, brought something if he knew we were going down there? So I don't get that.
I don't remember that because we had time. It wasn't as if we had to be there in 15 minutes. KSAN was announcing that John Lennon was the guest that night, and then we had all afternoon to plan. So I don't remember that.
Yeah. So I have the autograph, but it's too bad. It would have been nice if it was in a book or an album cover, right? So anyway.
The album wasn't out yet. Coming in.
Okay. My 4th selection. God, drink.
It's
what?
my turn, isn't it?
Oh, it's your turn. Never mind.
Walls and Bridges, right?
Yep. Sorry.
But you can go, right?
No.
I'll stick with the John Lennon one then. Oh, the Brick.
It was going to sit on my lap. I was going to forget about it. Brick from Savile Row when they're renovating it. A new brick that when David and I stole a brick from Savile Row where Apple Records is when we were working on our book in 1980.
Can I tell that story?
Yeah, if you want.
Because that brick, Norman and I were going to be on the Mike Douglas show.
Promoting this.
Plugging the book. And when you do a show like that, you go with the producers ahead of time and you go over the material you're going to talk about. And we said we had a bunch of props. We had this brick from Apple Records, and they said, "Oh yeah, bring that, something visual." So we brought it with us. We're on the set, cut to commercial. It's our segment. We come in, sit down, say hi to Mike, come out of commercial. We're on the air. Mike starts asking us questions, blah, 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 blah. End of segment, cut to commercial. Mike Douglas never asked us about the brick. So I was just sitting there holding that brick.
A conceptual art.
I laughed the whole time.
Yeah. And he introduced us. He goes, and now we have the authors of the Beatles England, David Bacon and Malcolm Maslov. Malcolm.
The guy was old. I remember the producer told us, they said, we had a bunch of slideshows. Sometimes Mike gets confused. Just keep talking. just keep going.
I almost said, yeah, it's like great to be here, Merv.
I think you did.
No, that's one of those stories that I kept saying I should have said that, but I never said that.
Who knows? All right. John Lennon. So I have two, and the reason I have two. So
I get
one
it.
is um, Double Fantasy stripped down version, which has a cover illustration that looks like a junior high school student did it.
It looks like there's
Sean,
an app you can do that now.
yeah, Sean drew the picture,
Oh, did he?
both sides, and nice, I guess, but it's kind of crappy. The other one that goes with this is, um, I should take the thing out.
Oh, I thought you were going to do both Double Fantasy in that. Yeah.
Nope. Acoustic.
That's a great listen.
It is, and the reason I picked these two is I want to give it.
Keep it still and show it better. You're shaking it. I've learned. Center.
I can't if I can't see it. Right there we go. Acoustic.
All right.
Close enough. You can look it
Always
up.
the director.
I want to give a shout out to Yoko Ono, and for her handling of the John Lennon catalog and estate since he passed almost 40 years ago. What are you doing?
Okay.
Okay, it's a picture of your ass there. Yoko has done a great job of. Okay, now it's the back cover of Sticky Fingers. Okay.
As you're talking, I'm just gonna.
All right. Okay. Unlike Olivia Harrison, Yoko has a series of albums over the decades. What's that? That's the anthology. Yeah, keeping John's music alive, and she has been incredibly generous with all of his archives.
And artistic.
Artistic.
Well, beautiful package
Oh
design.
yeah, but packaging. Yeah, the stripped down one is not what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be demos. What they did was took, sort of stripped off all the 80s, 70s, 80s studio shine and just have vocals, front and center, kind of raw. If you like making playlists, a lot of people make a playlist of John's 1980s stuff, Milk and Honey and Double Fantasy. Using the stripped down versions with Milk and Honey works much better, because the Milk and Honey ones are kind of the demos. Yeah, beautiful packaging. I didn't pick it, but as a backup, the Imagine Ultimate Box that came out a year ago with the accompanying books. Great job. What do you do? Oh, there's a little slide tray there.
Where I keep my dough. Keep going.
Okay. All right. I'm just
doing visuals.
I actually don't have that box. I know. I do not.
I'm gobsmacked.
Christmas is coming. Right? So shout out to Yoko. One of the most generous things she did was the Lost Lennon tapes, which is a radio series that ran for a couple of years, I think, and just emptied the vaults of John's, unused demos, unused songs, alternate takes, all sorts of stuff, and it ran for years. It was a gift to bootleg people. So very generous. Shout out to Yoko. Great job. I'm hoping the George Harrison estate opens up. We're looking forward to the 50th anniversary of All Things Must Pass coming up this.
You think we'll get a Platz Agona Band 50th net? But with all the shit going on now, I don't.
Yeah, I think they're all in the works. I think production to get them pressed might be part with all the pandemic going on. But
yeah,
I'm like the thing I like about the Imagine box is all the outtakes, but all the outtakes are in stereo and in this weird 5.1 surround, and where each of the channels, front, center, right, left, back channel, has a different instrument. So now the drums are in the back and the left, and the organs in the back and the right, and the basses and and you can walk around the room listening to each of the instruments. I like that a lot. So thank you, Yoko. Well done.
Okay, my fourth album now is Ringo again. What's my name? Is this the first solo album, proper solo album?
It depends how you define solo album. No.
No. obviously not Wonderwall.
Well, not Wonderwall. You count Wonderwall and Family Way. Does that count?
No, I mean, in song, singing song. This is the first one, I think, right?
And it is, yes.
And
The Beatles were still a band when that came out, wasn't it?
and of course, the cover is the Empress Pub, which is in the Beatles England, which is on Hyde Park Street in Liverpool, very close to where Ringo grew up, was born or lived, or I don't remember now. This is a great record. Even at the time, it was unusual because it was him doing like a standards record, but standards like big band stuff that he grew up with, that his parents listened to. And he went to George Martin and wanted to do an album, and he ended up using a bunch of, I want to say celebrity, a bunch of people arranging all the different songs. George Martin pretty much was the overall producer. McCartney arranged a song. Richard Perry arranged Sentimental Journey. Chico O'Farrell arranged Night and Day, but I hear that was actually Count Basie that actually arranged that, which is pretty cool. Maurice Gibb from the Bee Gees did Bye Bye Blackbird. Stardust, Paul McCartney arranged. The album was going to be called Ringo Stardust, apparently. Did you know that?
Yeah.
Anyway, Oliver Nelson, Quincy Jones. He did a session at A&M Records in LA that Quincy Jones produced. Elmer Bernstein. And anyway, it's a good record. This is I have an American here and a UK edition on Apple. I think it did pretty well, but a lot of Beatle people, you know, especially in 1971 or
No,
70,
early. I think
70.
It's set in 1969, maybe 70.
It came out 70. It came out. It was rushed out because they wanted to get it out a few months before Let It Be was coming out.
Yeah.
So it came out in, like, I'm thinking January, February, maybe March at the latest, 1970. And it's a good record. I really liked it. Big bandish. Ringo sounds great on it.
Starting kind of a trend of rock stars doing, you know, the Great American Songbook. So Rod Stewart kind of made a career out of that, and Dylan's last 3 albums. And
Harry Nilsson did
one. You know.
Harry Nilsson's one of my favorite ones. Touches
Harry
Smith.
Nilsson.
Yeah. Yours. Ringo. We're really covering Ringo a lot today.
My turn. But I got one left, right? We haven't done Mr. McCartney, Sir Paul. The fireman rushes in. Okay, keep talking. So this is this is another favorite, one of my favorite Paul McCartney. It's actually not Paul McCartney. Is that the one you picked?
We're ending up with the same album.
All right.
But I'm going to show you like all this stuff.
You got the super duper deluxe-y sort of a thing. All right, well, I'll start. Mine's just falling apart.
This is the best album he's done in 25 years.
Yeah, so The Firemen, this is the 3rd album by this sort of group, Firemen. You probably know who is Youth. He's a producer.
Youth is, he was, I'm blanking on his name. He was a bass player, the member of a post-punk band called Killing Joke. Mm-hmm. And he's produced and put some albums out and arranged under the name Youth. Some great stuff. So it comes from that post-punk, dancey kind of, you know, like the Manchester scene of groups like New Order and Joy Division. Not exactly in that respect, but kind of a post-punk band. How many times can I fucking say post-punk? So I think he's an interesting choice. And as David's going to tell you about the Firemen.
Yeah, so they start this collaboration, and they put 2 albums out by the Firemen, sort of ambient, spacey, instrumental,
electronica, no vocal or no singing.
No singing, maybe some vocals, spooky weirdness. They're kind of nice albums.
They're very beautiful, kind of.
Then this was the 3rd one. The Fireman rushes in. There's the fire truck. If I take the CD out, this one, surprise, is vocals. It could be considered McCartney 3 because Paul plays and sings everything on it, and I think they did it just sort of impromptu, one song a day. So the
Yeah,
whole
I
thing
did
is
it over a
recorded.
few months, but one song a
One
day.
song a day,
Yeah.
boom, just walked in and
Very
collaborated.
improvised.
Yeah. Kind of loose, free, lots of layers, all played by McCartney. His singing is great on it. A lot of writing. The album kind of gets spacier as the songs go along. Um, just
Painting,
a
cover art by Paul.
cover up a complete surprise when this came out. Now I think Paul has had kind of a pretty good run in his late era. His uh, but this one stands out, and I think it's one of the highlights of his career. Now you got the super deluxe version.
This comes in a metal container, so you can. This is my only record that's going to survive a plutonium explosion after the nuclear war. This has the album that I just showed, vinyl. It's a 2-record set in vinyl. Again, it's a rock and roll record, and it's a dance record. And it's a beautiful. Magpie is a very kind of acousticy song. It's a gorgeous record. There's a book with artwork. Oh no, this is the book with the CDs, and it's got CDs. It's got high resolution stereo audio and DVD, multi-track audio files, bonus tracks. Yes.
That youth, I guess.
Yeah, that picture's in here somewhere. It's got what the fuck is this? It's got oh yeah, there we go.
No, that's it.
Yeah, that's and it's got a whole book as they were painting this
Art.
art book. Well, McCartney is a big painter. He's friends of David Hockney and has done all these great pictures. I agree. This was great. This is so out of all this is the only one we doubled up on. It's got loose prints, art prints suitable for framing.
You know, in thinking about this, I was trying to pick albums and trying to guess what you would pick. And I just want to toss in one bonus. Maybe we can wrap this up. There is a McCartney album that is generally despised by everybody as his worst album. But I know you and I think it's one of his best. You know what album I'm talking about?
Wildlife.
Yeah, Wildlife.
I love Wildlife. I think it's an incredible record.
Yeah. So this is the super deluxe thing that came out last year.
Yeah.
So, Solo Beatles.
Solo Beatles. Maybe we'll do this again sometime. I'm sure we will, and we'll figure out another concept. David Bacon in New Jersey. Stay safe.
You too, Norrin.
And
Peace and love.
Mazzy and Bacon love you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.